I don't necessarily need them in front as long as somebody can
Okay, there we go.
explain them. Oh, I got them. Never mind.
Okay,
Thank you, Heather.
thank you, Delegate
Okay,
Chisholm.
we will be live in about 30 seconds.
Okay,
We are
so
live.
great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is the first Education Subcommittee of the Anne Arundel County Delegation, the first meeting of the 2025 session, I should say. And we will be discussing House Bill 226. It is the only bill on our agenda today. We do not have our legal counsel present. We are not required to. So therefore, I'm going to read a brief summary of this bill and then ask the bill sponsor, Delegate Heather Bagnall, to explain the bill further, as well as a number of amendments that will be put forward. So the basic description of House Bill 226 is as follows: Anne Arundel County Public Schools, school schedule options. The purpose is to authorize the Anne Arundel County Board of Education to operate certain schools within the county using a certain school scheduling model that is exempt from a certain requirement under certain circumstances and generally relating to public school scheduling models and the Anne Arundel County Board of Education. Specifically, the new language is summarized in a single paragraph on page 3, adding a paragraph F. The Anne Arundel County Board of Education may elect to operate one or more schools within the county using a scheduling model that eliminates early dismissal days if the minimum 1,080 hour requirement under this section is met. And this bill would take effect, if it passes, will take effect July 1st, 2025. With that explanation, Delegate Bagnall, would you please fill us in on any additional, insights or explanations you want to offer, and then be prepared to discuss the amendments. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chair. And this bill was heard, as you know, it was heard last Friday in our delegation. It was heard the previous, I believe, Wednesday in the Ways and Means Committee. And when we testified, we knew that there were some outstanding questions that still existed around around a potential sunset, around some hold harmless language for county employees and for hourly employees, and also around the fact that the calendars are not part of the bargaining unit, but that we were looking at language that potentially would simply reiterate in this statute that the contractual the contract that essentially that the schools are bound by the contract as they're considering the calendar. Sorry for being inarticulate there. And so I did work with council on some potential amendments, which you should see before you. Amendment 1 is it says on page 1 in line 5, after circumstance inserts requiring the county board to ensure certain compensation is paid to certain hourly employees. I think this is important because although this is a delegation bill and it's enabling legislation for the county, it also could set a precedent. So we want to make sure that we're not setting the wrong precedent, that this is about educational outcomes. This is about better utilization of instructional hours and those professional development hours. Amendment number 2 is on page 3 in line 13 after F, insert 1. It goes through the Anne Arundel County Board of Education, substitute in Anne Arundel County, the county board, and after line 16, insert if the county board elects to use a scheduling model that eliminates early dismissal days, the county board shall ensure that total compensation paid to hourly employees is not lowered as a result of the county board's elimination of early dismissal days. Again, that's in reference to that hold harmless language. Sorry, these are not in order. The sunset language is Amendment 226/733025/1. And it says on page 3 in line 23, after the period, insert, it shall remain effective for a period of 4 years. And at the end of June 30th, 2029, this act with no further action required by the General Assembly shall be abrogated and of no further force and effect. Essentially, again, that's that sunset language, so that if we determine that this isn't working, this isn't doing what we intended it to do, it will simply we will cease to enable the county to continue. If at such time we determine that it is working or it needs tweaking, we can take action at that time. And Rory, I seem to be missing the third amendment, which is.
Yeah, Delegate Bagnall, I was going to ask you, I kind of lost you after the first one, only because I was clicking on each of the links. And if I read them right, the first one said amendment number 1. The next two I clicked on didn't have numbers on them. So I wasn't sure I was even on the right one. And then it seems to me because I have 3 that were sent, then you went into a 4th one. Am I correct? There's a total of 4.
There are, because both of these amendment 1, as they're listed on here, amendment 1 and amendment 2 are speaking to the same concern. So there should be a 4th one.
Well, you have 4 amendments.
I thought I heard
total
you
if you have
describe
2.
4. Yeah, go ahead, Delegate Chisholm.
Yeah, you have 4 total amendments, Heather. You have amendment 1 and amendment 2 on the first PDF, and then you
Yes.
have 2 singular ones after that. So 3 total PDFs, but 4 total amendments. Does that
Yes,
make sense?
Oh, that's
that
what
is
it
that is
Okay.
correct. I
Thank
don't
you for
have that. I don't have that additional one in front of me in my packet. And I apologize because I have a duplicate this one. So give me 1 second to grab that one.
Yes.
I can tell you what it does. Essentially is that it reiterates that language that confirms that the county has to abide by their contractual obligation to ensure that since the calendar negotiations can't be part of the bargaining teams, that they have to abide by their contractual obligations. And give me 1 second to get that. And then
I have it in front of me. Would you like me to read it?
That would be great. Thank you so much.
And Chair, I apologize for speaking out of turn, but I was just trying to be helpful. Apologies. Delegate, I'm looking at an amendment by Delegate Bagnall, amendment to the House Bill 226 on page, and stop me if I'm wrong, on page 3 in line 13 after F, insert 1. In the same line, strike the Anne Arundel County Board of Education and substitute in Anne Arundel County, the county board. After line 16, insert, if the county board elects to use a scheduling model that eliminates early dismissal days, the county board shall negotiate the relevant issues with the employee organization designated as the exclusive representative of the impacted school employees in accordance with section 6-406 of this article, end quote.
That is it. And there is an additional technical amendment that we've requested which simply adds to that line 604, or sorry, 6406, 6-507, which is another part of the existing statute. We did talk to council to confirm that would be an appropriate addition. That was at the request of the Teachers Association of Anne Arundel County. It just unifies the code, and there would be no adverse impact according to council, who also said that would be an appropriate addition. It is technical in nature, and I apologize. We requested it on Friday that we don't have it before us.
Okay. Delegate Bagnall, if I may suggest that we take one amendment at a time so that people can ask questions, we make sure we're all on the same page. I'm going to suggest that we begin with what I have as amendment number 1, which is amendment number 1 and 2. Whoever pointed that out, those are in fact on the same page. And the first one is amendment number 1 is page 1, line 5, after circumstance, insert requiring the county board to ensure certain compensation is paid to hourly employees. Does anyone have any questions for Delegate Bagnall about who this is referencing, why the need for this clarification on hourly employees? It looks like Grace, do you want to comment or add some insight here? This is Grace Wilson from Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Go ahead.
Thank you, Delegate Lehman. I just wanted to note that the school system is not in support of this amendment. While we've been taking efforts to increase our recruitment and retention and do not seeing this have an adverse impact on hourly employees, we would prefer not to be bound by the law to this requirement.
Okay, so you do support this amendment?
We do not support this.
You do not. Okay. Delegate Bagnall, any further, explanation or a rationale for the amendment? And I do, Delegate Bartlett, I do see you have your hand raised. Go ahead, Delegate Bagnall.
So again, I think this is an important amendment simply so that we ensure we don't set a precedent for other counties that could be adverse to their school systems. This speaks to your support staff, your lunch workers, your cafeteria staff, your janitorial staff. And it was at the request of some of the stakeholders. I think it's an important that we consider it so that we are not setting a precedent that could adversely impact other school jurisdictions.
Thank you for the explanation. Delegate Bartlett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you don't mind, Madam Chair, could Christina go before me because she might ask the question I was going to ask?
Sure. Okay. I see Delegate Chisholm has his hand raised as well, but go ahead, Christina Corona from the Teachers Association.
I was just going to explain, one of the reasons we brought up this amendment is we just really want to make sure if there's a reduction in days, that will impact our bus drivers, our food service workers, and we just want to make sure that, all workers are protected with changes to the schedule. So that was our reason for raising this in our testimony, I think now 2 weeks ago.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Delegate Bartlett.
Thank you. So I guess my question is, are we specifying specifically what hourly compensation workers must receive? Are we putting any type of rigid guidelines around the board in doing this? It's kind of a rhetorical question because I think not. And Delegate Bagnall would know.
Delegate Bagnall, can you help us with that?
No, I think to Delegate Bartlett's point, we're not putting any rigid restrictions around it. We're just making sure that they're staying in the conversation.
Right. That's how I read it, and I'm a little bit confused because if they are working, then and if they remain working to some degree, I think the amendment is just saying to make sure you consider them. So I don't have a problem with the amendment. I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. Delegate Chisholm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was my understanding the intent of this bill was to give Anne Arundel County more flexibility with hours, and I fully support that and I understand that. And I understand that you're worried if this becomes a statewide legislation that you want to give flexibility. Shouldn't we allow each of those counties, though, when they pick up this legislation to then add their own amendments based on what they're looking for? I just don't, I'm never comfortable when the board's asking us to vote on something and then we're putting in an amendment that doesn't sit well with them. That's just my only thought on it. I understand the hourly thing, but if they're hourly and they're actually not working, I wouldn't. It sounds to me like this isn't really going to eliminate days. It just gives them more flexibility in a day, eliminating some of the early dismissal days, which shouldn't affect the school lunch lady or school lunch guy or the bus driver. Just my thoughts on it, on this actual amendment. The bill I'm great with. I just don't understand fully if we should take this amendment up.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Delegate Chisholm, Delegate Bagnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It would potentially affect the number of days, because currently the law is 180 days and 1,080 hours. This would give them the flexibility to meet that 1,080 hours, but potentially reduce the number of days by eliminating early dismissal days and combining them into a full day. So they would still be able to meet that 1,080 hours, but potentially instead of having 12 half days, maybe go to 8 half days or days where they have a full day of instruction and a full day of professional development, whereas right now there are days where they're doing half and half.
And Delegate Bagnell, is it fair to say you just don't want to inadvertently shortchange these hourly employees with this new system?
I think that's fair.
Okay, Delegate Jones.
Apologies, I fell off for a second as I had a temporary catastrophic water spill on my laptop. We are still on hold harmless.
No worry.
Just keeping things spicy over here. We are still on amendment 173625/1.
Yeah, we're on amendment number 1, requiring the county board to ensure certain compensation is paid to certain hourly employees.
Thank
We're
you
having
so
a
much.
conversation about what that means.
Thank you
And at
so
any
much.
time, I will entertain a motion. I'm going to call on Christina one more time, but I'd like to entertain a motion if there are not additional questions, unless I should say there are additional questions by a delegation member. So go ahead one more time, Christina.
So again, we are in support of this because, and I believe there was for the virtual days, which is another kind of thing where if schools go into virtual days, that means there's less days in person where you need a food service worker, where you need a bus driver. I believe that legislation includes a hold harmless to employees who are hourly. I also just want to add, I know like school nurses are contractual in Anne Arundel County. They work for the Department of Health, so they would be impacted if there were a reduction in days. And this legislation, and the intention is that there will be a reduction in days as long as we're fulfilling the hours. So anybody who is only required to be there when students are in the building will be impacted. And we don't want to see, and these are often very hard to fill positions. Anne Arundel County in particular, our food service workers, it's been very hard to fill. Our nurses are woefully underpaid. And so if our calendar reduces the number of days, those folks are going to see less compensation. And so we just want to make sure that this doesn't become a cost-cutting measure, but it's allowing, and the reason why we support the spirit of this bill is because in the end, if we get some more work days, full PD days, that will help reduce educator workload. So this, we just want to make sure our most vulnerable employees are protected.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Understood. We do not want to create what we like to refer to as unintended consequences. With that, are there any other questions from delegates about this amendment number 1? I do not see any. Good morning, Delegate Schmidt. I saw you joined us a few minutes late. So I will entertain a motion on amendment number 1.
Move favorable.
And I'll second that. Mr. Massey, can you call the roll on amendment number 1? Or can we do a voice vote?
I can call the roll if needed.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I think it's wise to call the roll on this.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, can you just clarify, are you talking about the amendment 1 and 2?
No,
That's actually just 1.
Yeah, since number 2 is numbered separately, I'm going to take that separately. So this is just amendment number 1.
Thank you for the
Page
clarity.
1, line 5, requiring the county board to ensure certain compensation is paid to certain hourly employees. So go ahead, Mary Jane.
Delegate Bagnell,
Yes.
Delegate Bartlett,
Yes.
Delegate Chisholm,
No.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Schmidt,
No.
Delegate Simmons, Delegate Simmons.
Yeah, he was with us. I'm not sure. We could go back to him.
It
Okay,
looks like
Delegate,
he's still there. He's still muted.
okay, Delegate Lehman,
I vote yes.
Delegate Simmons. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 yay, 2 nay. The motion
Okay,
passes.
the amendment carries. Okay, let's move on to amendment number 2. So I will read it out loud and then ask if there's any reason. I think it's pretty straightforward. If there's any reason Delegate Bagnall or the Grace, somebody from the school system wants to comment. So amendment number 2 is on page 3, line 13. After F, insert paragraph 1 in the same line. Strike the Anne Arundel County Board of Education and substitute in Anne Arundel County the county board. That seems like just sort of like maybe not technical, but a little bit of housekeeping or something. Delegate Bagnall, do you want to comment on that or explain that?
I believe that's technical.
Technical. Okay. I will entertain a motion then on amendment number 2. I'll move amendment number 2.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Delegate Bartlett, do you have a question?
Yes, I couldn't find my button.
Go ahead.
So we're still talking about the Board of Education. We're just calling it the technical name, right? Is that what we're talking about there?
It the full amendment is lines 1 and 2, Madam Chair.
Okay, the full amendment
No,
is okay.
I'm
So
sorry,
it's-
Madam Chair. My question was, are we not calling it the Board of Education and changing it to the technical name, the way it's referred to perhaps in other areas of state law? Is that what we're doing?
I am not sure about that. Delegate Bagnall, do you know? Or Grace, does someone know the reason for this?
Yes, it's my
Grace?
understanding that this is how typically it's referenced in state statute. You reference the county and then the county board.
Okay, got it. Delegate Chisholm, you have a question about this?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear. I understand the first part of the amendment number 2, but the second part essentially is more technical. And it's doing the same thing as our first amendment we just voted on, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
The first amendment is in the sort of prologue of the bill, what the bill is doing, and then the second amendment is the language of the hold harmless.
Okay, I got you. So even though I understand the first part, the second part, never mind, doesn't matter.
Thank you, Delegate Chisholm. That's what we're here to do, is get questions answered. So we have a motion and a second on amendment number 2. Mary Jane, could you call the roll?
Delegate Bagnall,
Yes.
Delegate Bartlett. I think no?
I'm here. I'm sorry. I was still reading. Delegate Chisholm brought up an interesting point. Yes.
Delegate Chisholm,
No.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Schmidt,
No.
Delegate Simmons,
Yes.
Delegate Lehman.
I vote yes.
That would be 5 yay, 2 nay.
Okay, my apologies, Delegate Bagnall. I don't know if you tried to point this out. I thought I was at the end of this page of amendments and then realized, I guess, what you were trying to raise about paragraph number 2. That is part of the same amendment?
Yes.
That's all one amendment. Okay, I
All
would have
one
thought
amendment.
that was a third amendment. So this is a little confusing. So I don't know what makes the most sense, since you're treating this as one amendment, or whoever drafted this is. This is a little more substantive, it seems to me. So paragraph 2, if you all have this amendment up in front of you, you might want to open it so you can follow me. Paragraph 2 in the same section, after paragraph 1, which is after paragraph F, number 2, if the county board elects to use a scheduling model that eliminates early dismissal days, the county board shall ensure that total compensation paid to hourly employees is not lowered as a result of the county board's elimination of early dismissal days. This seems to me to obviously harken back to the amendment number 1 on requiring that the board ensure certain compensation is paid. Is this just a more detailed sort of explanation of that, Delegate Bagnall? Could you explain this further?
This is what I was speaking to in answer to Delegate Chisholm's question. So the first amendment is in the it's in the purpose statement.
Okay.
Amendment number 2.
Okay,
Paragraph
can
1
someone mute themselves? I hear something in the back or some feedback in the background. Go ahead, Delegate Bagnall.
So again, Amendment 1 is in the purpose statement of the bill. Amendment number 2 is the hold harmless language that is in the bill. So that's why this was all put together as one amendment, 2 amendments in one section, because they both reference the hold harmless language. Amendment number 1 is in the purpose statement of the bill. Amendment number 2 is the actual hold harmless language.
Okay, I see. That is why they on the surface are seemingly separated, although you're saying they're not in terms of the actual content of the bill. So Delegate Schmidt has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. If I could just get some clarification on the hourly employees. I know Ms. Corona had mentioned about the nurses being on a separate kind of contract. Who would fall under, maybe Grace could answer this, who falls under that hourly rate if teachers don't, nurses don't?
Thanks, Delegate Schmidt. I can tell you for certain, our school cafeteria workers would fall under that. I'd have to look into what exactly other workers would fall into that hourly pay category.
And do they fall under any type of union representation from a cafeteria worker standpoint?
They do, yes. They have union representation through SAAC. I'm sorry, AFSCME.
Okay.
And I believe you had also mentioned, someone had mentioned bus drivers. Are they any of like the classroom aides, where in some systems they are the not PPWs, the classroom aides that are assigned. The title is escaping me, but that are assigned like one-on-one to kids with IEPs. Are there, any other categories we should know about?
I believe you're referring to education support professionals, and I just don't have that information off the top of my head, but would be happy to provide it back to the subcommittee.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest fear. We're kind of voting on some things. We don't really have true clarification on who it is and how much it's going to affect maybe the overall budget for the county. And, putting that whole package together, if I'm running a business and somebody doesn't come in for work, but yet I need to either compensate them on different days for more money per hour the day before, or more money throughout the course of the year, it just could affect the county budget in a way that we just don't know what the repercussions are.
We have a couple of questions. I'm going to go to Delegate Jones first. I saw your hand first. Go ahead, Delegate Jones.
Thank you so much, Chair. I actually wanted to pull into this conversation, if it's appropriate, our TAC representative who is on the line as well, and for better clarity for who all are the employees. I think the question was asked, and I know that Delegate Bagnall went over it, but for a deeper dive and a review for those maybe who had a breakup in their internet or something, maybe we could hear from Christina for those hourly and other wage earners, please.
Yeah, Christina, go ahead if you could enlighten us on that question.
I get who they are. Well, I think they would definitely fall into, you know, yeah, food service workers. I mean, and really it's anybody, I guess our big concern is anybody who only is required to come into the building when there's students. So like teaching assistants or especially our TSAs who are not in a bargaining unit, you know, they only come in when students are in the building. And I guess I was just going to add that I think the thing about affecting budgets, the county already budgets assuming the 181, well, actually, we have 81 school days in Anne Arundel County. So they've already budgeted for that. And we're just saying that if this bill allows them to go under those number of days, I know by state law it's 180, that it shouldn't be done in a way that's just to save on employee compensation, right? They've already budgeted at a certain level. And so if they decide to have a couple, you know, fewer school days without students so that, you know, educators can come in and do other tasks. I mean, again, speaking for, you know, our teachers and our school counselors, these are folks who need time to do paperwork. There's a lot of things that we do beyond our direct service to students that we just don't want to have those hourly employees be, you know, harmed, you know, compensation wise, because they're planning on a certain salary, or at least a certain, you know, set of wages for the year. And we just don't want this to unintendedly reduce their wages. Again, these are often our employees that are very hard to staff. And so that's just another thing to help support the school system, keep that same set of wages and just make sure they still, you know, so this isn't adding to their budget. It's already what they've budgeted. And we're just trying to protect those workers.
So another bite of the apple, Chair, please.
Yes, thank
thank
you.
you.
Go ahead.
So just to be clear, that the budget by the county is already set. So this isn't adding anything. And just to review, Christina, you touched upon something that's critically important as we continue the conversation for teachers, for school counselors, and for so many in the school, that teaching hours is just one aspect of the job. Is that correct?
Yes, that's exactly right.
And so other portions of your job for counselors and teachers and principals and so many is the amount of paperwork preparing, IEPs, following through.
Yeah,
and
related
did
service
you even
providers,
put a
special
quantity of hours around that?
Yeah. Oh,
On
how
a
many
weekly
hours?
basis? Like spitball?
Well, so we definitely don't get enough. And as you know, with the blueprint, the goal is to get down to 60 instructional hours for classroom teachers so that there is more time for other work. And I can definitely say our special educators, our related service providers who work with our special ed students, they do not have enough time. That's why in the end, the spirit of this law, if we can use it as a way to build in more work time and more work days for our educators, I see there's a value to moving forward with this. We just want to make sure that, again, we're salaried. So we're gonna work our full work days regardless of what the school calendar is. That's not the case for some of our other hourly and contracted employees. So I hope that answers your questions.
Thank you so much. I hope that drilled down. Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Delegate Jones. That clarifies things for me. I don't see any other hands. What I would like to do, oh, I'm sorry, Delegate Bartlett, go ahead. I did not see that your hand was raised. Go ahead.
My apologies. I took it down and I put it back, and I am a little bit confused because I'm a little bit confused for a couple of things. Okay, so we did vote already on this amendment, I believe.
Yes, Delegate Bartlett, thank you for raising that. I was going to actually suggest that we revote this amendment because I didn't see that this was part of it. I didn't go down below the first paragraph under Amendment 2. I would have, if this were my bill, I would have made this amendment number 3. I understand it's in the same section, but the more substantive piece of this amendment is paragraph 2, the one we've been discussing about hourly employees. So I was going to ask that we revote the amendment in full, which is both of these paragraphs.
Okay, so with that said, I feel comfortable asking my question.
Okay.
And my question goes to, and I can't believe I'm on the same page with Delegate Schmidt, but I am. My question goes to, um,
Delayed
um,
reaction by Delegate Schmidt. Go ahead.
yes, kind of, and I don't know if Ms. Wilson or Ms. Corona, I'm not sure who could answer this question, but if we're talking about hourly employees, and unfortunately, when when we make changes where one has reduced hours, is there, is there a plan, or did the work group discuss some of the duties that the hourly employees may have so that they could maintain their expectation of compensation based on previous years? So I guess what I'm asking is, what task would the hourly employees have if the school days are changed? And if you have an answer, that would be great. If it was discussed so that we could have a clear understanding, that would be great. If not, that's fine.
Okay, Ms. Wilson, go ahead.
Thank you, Delegate Lehman. As I said initially, it is certainly not our intention to reduce staffing for these hourly workers at this time. However, as was provided in our letter of intent, we are fully committed to engaging stakeholders, including negotiations with employee bargaining units in implementing this bill. So we would certainly, we envision that as being part of the next conversation that would occur with our school community to make sure that we're addressing all of those needs.
Okay, so my other thing is, I think it is a good point that Ms. Corona keeps mentioning that sticks well with me, and that is this, while it may be good if we reduce costs, this was not intended as a cost-saving bill, is my understanding. Actually, I can't speak to that. That's Delegate Bagnall. But my understanding was that this was a school scheduling bill and not meant to be a reduction of a cost reduction. And that was all, Madam Chair, and maybe Madam Delegate.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you,
I can't
Delegate
get it out.
No, thank you. I think those were good questions and observations. And that is my impression as well, that this is really about efficiency for the school system in terms of scheduling, but not cost cutting. I don't know if that's a good way to sum it up, Delegate Bagnall. Ms. Wilson, one more comment, and then I would like to entertain a motion to revote this amendment in full. So go ahead, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Delegate Lehman. I just wanted to reiterate Bartlett shared that this is absolutely not a cost-saving measure for the school system. We are looking to implement a school calendar that better meets the needs of the school community, and just looking to be able to make the changes we need to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Any other questions? So if I could, I do not see any. I would like to entertain a motion to revote this amendment in full, and I will read again briefly the first part of it. And this is all on page 3. The first part is line 13, after paragraph F, insert a new paragraph 1 in the same line. We're striking the Anne Arundel County Board of Education, and we're substituting in Anne Arundel County, the county board. And after line 16, we're inserting a new paragraph 2. If the county board elects to use a scheduling model that eliminates early dismissal days, the county board shall ensure that total compensation paid to hourly employees is not lowered as a result of the county board's elimination of early dismissal days. There are a number of questions about who these employees are. Unintended consequences, adding, to the budget potentially. We've gotten good answers, but Ms. Wilson from the public school system will follow up with, I hope, with individual members of this subcommittee as well as the full delegation prior to the Friday meeting, if you could commit to that, Grace. And did you have another comment?
I do. I have that information for you now if you would like. I was able to obtain it.
That would be helpful, but just to ensure so folks have time to really look at it and digest it, that would be welcome. But also if you could follow up and send all of that information to the full Anne Arundel County delegation in advance of our Friday meeting, we would all be grateful. Thank you. Okay, so I will entertain a motion on amendment number 2 in its entirety.
Move amendment number 2 in its entirety for a revote.
And I will second that. Mary Jane, can you call the roll?
Delegate Bagnell,
Yes.
Delegate Bartlett,
Yes.
Delegate Chisholm,
No.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Schmidt,
I'm a no. I'm agree with the name change. It's just the second part. So I'm a no on that. Thank you.
and Delegate Simmons,
Yes.
Delegate Lehman.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 5-2.
Okay, the amendment number 2 carries. Delegate Bagnell, could you help us out with what you consider amendment number 3? Because this one, my next bill, my next PDF that I opened does not look like it's numbered. The one I opened is, oh, I'm sorry, that's the same one.
So I'm
Okay.
going to suggest,
Madam
Madam
Chair,
Chair, that we take up the sunset amendment because I think that's very simple and there's already consensus on it.
Absolutely, I agree. And that happens to be the one I open next. So I will read that amendment.
Yes,
So-
226/7333025/1.
Can I make a
Yes,
suggestion
that's
real quick?
that's the long number. Delegate Chisholm, did you have a question about where we
Thank you,
are
Madam
or a
Chair.
procedural question?
Yeah, I didn't want to cut you off, and I'm sorry, but I think for Friday's meeting, Heather, I don't know if you could do this, but if you could separate out the 2 parts of the last amendment, I think it might save a lot of time on Friday, so we could
Okay.
vote that separately. Just my suggestion, because I think it gets really.
Yeah, I think in terms of the mechanics of these amendments, I would agree with you. I think that would make it cleaner and clearer. And I'll work with Delegate Bagnell and our council, Delegate Bagnell, on that to sort of organize and number. As long as we're not changing the substance further, I would imagine that won't be a problem for council.
Okay, it does substantively change it because that is in reference to section 2, but.
Okay, all right.
but
Well,
we can consider it.
Okay, but we'll talk to council about that. So our next amendment is the sunset amendment. And it reads on page 2, or I mean to orient you, I'm sorry, page 3, line 23, after the period insert, it shall remain effective for a period of 4 years. And at the end of June 30th, 2029, this act, with no further action required by the General Assembly, shall be abrogated and of no further force and effect. So that's what we're calling the sunset amendment, that it ends on June 30th, 2029, unless we take further action to extend it. I'll entertain a motion on the sunset amendment. Delegate Bagnell?
Move the amendment. Also,
Second.
I would ask if Christina and Grace can just confirm that we have consensus on this amendment.
Absolutely, Delegate Bagnell, we're supportive of the sunset provision for this bill. Thank you.
Yes,
Excellent.
agree.
Second.
Thank you.
Christina?
Yep, we're in agreement.
Thank you. Madam.
Okay,
The
great.
second on the amendment.
Okay, so I have a motion on the sunset amendment by Delegate Bagnell and a second by Delegate Bartlett. Mary Jane, could you please call the roll?
Delegate Bagnell,
Yes.
Delegate Bartlett,
Yes.
Delegate Chisholm,
Yes.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Schmidt,
Yes.
Delegate Simmons,
Yes.
Delegate Lehman.
I vote yes. So Delegate Bagnell, I think this is all the amendments that I have. Did you say there's another one that's not in writing, a more technical amendment?
No, you have a third amendment, and I think I confused us all because the first part of it is very similar to the other amendment. It's House Bill 226/833-223/1. The first part looks just like Amendment 2, Section 1, because it's simply changing the name to match the rest of the code. But the second part of it says, if the county board elects to use a scheduling model that eliminates early dismissal days, the county board shall negotiate the relevant issues with the employee organization designated as the exclusive representative of the impacted school employees in accordance with 6-406 of this article. The technical amendment that I have requested is to add the addition of 6-507. So it would read employees in accordance with 6-406 and 6-507 of this article, which simply mirrors the state statute. And that is what I consulted with counsel on, who confirmed that that would be an appropriate technical change, and we have requested that technical change, but it does not alter the substance of this amendment. It simply mirrors existing code.
Okay, I'm not sure how to proceed with that, only because the first part of that you read before you got into the technical change that council has agreed to, I don't have a copy of that. Do other members of the subcommittee have a copy? Okay, I have not seen that, because Mary Jane, the ones that came with my calendar item, I just have 3 PDFs, and we've gone over all the ones I have. Do you, how was that sent to us? Was that sent directly by you, Delegate Bagnall, or by Mr. Massey? Where did that come from? I don't seem to have that one that I can tell.
Mary Jane.
Yeah, there was an email that I sent at the beginning of the meeting that should have that in it.
Okay. Could
tell you what.
someone forward that to me again, just so I have it? Does everyone else but me have this amendment that Delegate Bagnall just read?
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely don't. I think so. I somehow got 2 copies of amendments 1 and 2, and then I got the sunset amendment, but nothing else. So the other question, and maybe one of you, Chair Bartlett or someone else, can help me out. Can we actually vote on this amendment if we don't have that technical addition in writing? If we're, going to vote it all together, or should we just vote on the part that we do have in writing and then either re-vote it or vote the addition to it in the full delegation? I don't think, normally in my other county delegation, we don't vote things that we don't have in writing.
I think Delegate Bagnall was going to respond to that. I
Go
have
ahead.
my answer
Oh,
too.
I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand. Delegate Bagnall, go ahead.
I was going to make the suggestion that we open this up for discussion, but perhaps see if we can find another time this week to vote on it. We can vote on an amendment in concept, because we will have another opportunity to vote it with the full delegation. So that voting in concept is fine, as long as we have it in writing by the time we take the full delegation vote. However, I am aware of time as well.
Right.
And it may take a little time for everyone to understand the concept of this amendment. But I would make the request that we find another time for the subcommittee to meet.
Okay,
If
that's
if
helpful.
that is the will of the subcommittee.
Yeah, and I want to be, sensitive to the time as well. We're coming up on noon. I do not have that. As I said, you explained it briefly, or you read it. You want to read it one more time, or just comment on what is the gist of it? What are we trying to do with this amendment?
So what we're doing here is so in state statute, the bargaining teams are prohibited from discussing the calendar. But this ensures that we are still adhering to our contractual obligations, and that the county board will negotiate with the employee organization already designated that represent the impacted school employees, to ensure that that the discussions for the calendar that impact relevant employees will be discussed before their contracts are confirmed. That is how I understand it. And it adheres to our existing statute without violating our existing prohibitions, but also gives some assurances to the employees that they will not be left out of the conversations around the school calendar before it is confirmed.
Okay. And a quick question, Delegate Bagnall, was this amendment initiated by the Teachers Association, by Anne Arundel County Public Schools? Where does this come from?
This was both and neither. Essentially, this was a request by the Teachers Association, but also looking at the language. I had made the request of the school system, and they said we have it in existing code. So basically, what we did is we mirrored the existing code in this new statute to ensure that that those contracts would be adhered to.
Okay, and that refers generally to any of the bargaining units representing anyone from bus drivers to cafeteria workers to teachers and so on.
Any impacted school employees, and I think and some of this language was we got assistance from Anne Arundel County Public Schools to find the relevant statutes, and then the technical addition that was requested by the teachers union in looking at the existing statute.
Great, very helpful. Thank you for the clarification. Delegate Bartlett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question, Delegate Bagnall. I got a chance to look at 6406, but what was the other statute that you mentioned? Was it 6506? Okay.
It was 6-507 in my notes, if I can.
507, okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, I am willing to entertain a motion.
Delegate
on
Bagnall,
this-
you're not on mute. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Thank you. I just answered all those questions. So thank you all.
I heard part of it. Did you have anything else you want to add, Delegate Bagnall?
I was just going to say, Christina is here, and Grace is still here. Christina was the one who raised the 6507. It speaks to, I think, uncertified employees. And as I said, council confirmed that that it was existing statute, and that it was a technical change that would be relevant but would not alter the meaning of the amendment.
Thank you. And so I will entertain a motion on this amendment,
Move the amendment.
and I'll second that. Any other discussion before we vote? Okay, Mary Jane, go ahead and call the roll.
Delegate Bagnall,
Yes.
Delegate Bartlett,
Yes.
Delegate Chisholm,
Yes, with the assumption that the technical amendment will be fixed by Friday.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Schmidt,
Yes.
Delegate Simmons,
Yes.
and Delegate Lehman.
I vote yes. Okay, so, and what is the vote, Mary Jane?
7-0.
Great, so the amendment passes. And now with the understanding that the last part of that amendment will be forwarded to everyone in the full delegation, Delegate Bagnall, I will entertain a motion on the underlying bill as amended.
Move the
Move
bill.
favorable.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Mary Jane, please call the roll.
Delegate Bagnall,
Yes.
Delegate Bartlett,
Yes.
Delegate Chisholm,
I'm gonna vote no, just because of that amendment for now. I like the bill and they intend it. No.
Delegate
Is that a
Jones.
yes?
I was a no, I'm sorry.
Okay, I was
Delegate
waiting for
Jones,
I was waiting for Mr. Chisholm to finish. Delegate Jones, yes.
Delegate Schmidt,
In alignment with my friend, Delegate Bartlett, yes.
Delegate Simmons. I think he's frozen. Delegate Lehman. Oh, I'm sorry.
I vote
Delegate
yes.
Simmons, yes.
All right. 1, 2, 3,
Delegate Simmons, yes.
6-1.
Very good. And the motion passes, the bill passes the Education Subcommittee. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Delegate Bagnall, for your efforts. And thank you, Anne Arundel County Public Schools representatives, Ms. Wilson, Christina, if you're still here. Thank you, everyone. Roger, thank you for your support.
Yeah.
Yes, you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I have one question. So with the affirmative vote, I will place this bill on the agenda for Friday. I would suggest we move it early on Friday because we have at least 6 or 7 bills to vote on. And I would like to make sure everybody is available for the vote. And with that understanding that if the written pieces do not make it out of bill writing before then, we can always delay the vote for a week.
Great.
And
Sounds
we
like a plan.
We requested the technical amendment on Friday, so I expect we'll have it today or tomorrow. We'll get it out to
I
everyone.
think so.
Great. And we will look to you, Mr. Massey, is that true, to help that accurate, that you will make sure that gets out to all the members?
If I see it, yes, but you will probably see it before I will. You are Delegate Bagnall. Just forward to me and I'll get it out to everybody.
Okay, great. Well, many hands make light work, so we'll all pitch in on this. And thank you all. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the Education Subcommittee.
Motion to
Move to
adjourn.
Second.
Okay, second. Great. Thank you. Good work, everyone. See you later. Have a good
Great
afternoon.
Thank you,
job.
Madam
Great
Chair.
job, Chair. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.